nature to this modernism to postmodernism. You know, that's...
So you've got a lot of different angles.
Sometimes it hurts your head. You know, because look where it is. Like, you're familiar with Philip Kunz, who's probably the most hottest artist today in terms of what his pieces go for. Well, he's out of New York, and he does these huge. I mean, he gets $100 million for his pieces.
Wow.
But I can remember in Chicago going to one of his first shows when he was displaying his basketballs floating in aquariums. You know, way back when.
Wow.
So I bring that up to say that that's my age and the time I started my art education and my experience. I span everything from, traditional representation and impressionism and Seurat the Dot, all the way up to today's today's stuff, which is, almost like the Guild era. It's almost like the Baroque Renaissance with what we're in with Philip Kunz and the Chinese people and it now takes tons of money to make art today. Tons of money.
It sure does.
And so, somewhere along the line, and probably up in Montana, maybe 10, 12 years ago, I kind of just said, screw with trying to, make a name for myself. I'm now going to do this just for me. Because I went through a period, really trying to, spend a lot of money and get into shows and, apply for shows and try to get into jury shows and afford canvas and put some frames on it and, and chase, who's
right,
And then at some point you realize if you're not making art for yourself, you might as well not make it, because there'll be nothing to keep you going. So now I do it for myself, and I'm really quite privileged to have, a partner that, allows me to do that.
That's really great. Support from the ones that we love are the only way that we're going to get by. So, I like to work in series. I really think it's very important. I have to name drop with Julia Cameron, the Artist Way, because I followed that. I must have 15 years worth of daily journals, Wow.
Because I really like her program. I really like that you have to write each day, you have to go for a walk each day, and you have to treat yourself kind of as an artist. Those are the three things she believes in.
Wow.
But one of her principles is, you take care of the quantity and let the gods or serendipity or fate take care of the quality. So I really believe in series. I really believe that there's no such thing as ping, there's the perfect image. You have to work these things up, and it's physical work, So my latest stuff began with this. And this is what I'm talking about, the material. This is regular, legal size, what's it called? Cardboard, or not cardboard, but cardstock. Printed up on draft, so it's using less ink. But I'll start with Photoshop and I'll make a drawing, because I really learned how to draw, and I'll use photos as an idea, and I'll put in what, I'll tweak the faces, I'll tweak the eyes, I'll tweak the breasts, and I'll tweak the pubis and that. And then I draw it up and I print it up on the cardstock and using the poster procedure, And then my daughter had mentioned to me, she said, "Dad, you might like working with the patterns, the material from one dressmaker's. She said it's really wonderful paper and it's really fun. So I took some of that, I glued it down there, and I started playing around with it. So this is the first piece of this series. Then I start playing around with like, okay, now what can I do with it, you know? And you can oversaturate with how, you know, getting in tons of information. So this is the same thing. The figure is printed up, and then a layer of the pattern paper, and then on top of that is more cut and paste put on top of it. You know, so the figure becomes, you know, the core or the center around which I'm developing the piece. And then still trying to play with it, here's one that's very much a part of what's going on with today's pieces. Playing with it even more. I've gone through grief with the female form, not so much with Judy, who's a real good trooper, but with my siblings and, you know, some of my contemporaries, where they say, you know, you're obsessed with these pretty, you know, these pretty little girls. These, you know, they have perfect bodies and they have perfect, you know, you need to do like pictures of old ladies, or you need to do old hags, or you need to do. But one of the things about being an artist is you don't choose. You know, if you fight it, you end up with shitty art. This is something that, you know, tells me I have to do it. And my sister lives in town here, and she's a bit of a psychic. She actually is. She makes a pretty good living out of it. But she told me one time, she said, you know, there's this dead spirit. There's this spirit of this dead girl that's trying to talk to you. And so I thought, well, that kind of makes sense, and that allows me to keep doing the pretty young things, because there's something about a chalky white young girl between the age of 15 and maybe 20, chalky white, almost like, you know, American Horror stuff, just real pale white, and that, when my sister said that something in my past life or some sort of, this young girl died, you know. And I don't really accept that I'll take that as my art. But I thought, well, that's cool. I mean, you know, because it fits what's trying to go on here. There's something about that female form. And I know it taps into, you know, adolescence and coming of age, and you see it in the movies and that. But to me, there's something more there. So I've been trying to play with that, and this is much like the last one. But you can see how in the series, I try to build on and play with and try to find out, both at the physical level with the paper and the material and the imagery, you know, what's going on. And there she is back there. So I've got her obscured. You know, part of that criticism was, you know, like, how dare you, I dare you. And I thought, well, I can't deny it, so I'll just play with it. I like this one. This is... But that's part of what I learned as an artist, is if you try to answer all the people, if you try to change your art because you're getting criticism, or if you try to, you know, I'll trick them. You're not being true to yourself. It has to be authentic. And perhaps even to a degree, I'm trying to trick myself with these, but I'm trying to do it in such a way that I honor what's going on. That's another interesting one. So I started developing this series, and I'm not really, I do like those. Another interesting one. But I want to kind of get to where, you know, the girl was trapped in between the
background and then the foreground. And so this one came up. And that's kind of what I got, where I got the background is, there she is, and then there's this sandwich trapping her in. And so that's, and then there's the, no, see, then there was that one, then this one, and then the one I'm working on today, which as you can probably see will be just this real red grid. And there are the pattern shapes. I'm kind of playing with the pattern shapes for the dresses, where she's squeezed in between those purple flowers, these red flowers, with her you know, so that's I really believe in series, and I encourage you know, artists that are trying, you know, starting out, work in series. Because
do you have ideas for more series?
Well,
or is this just kind of where you're going right now, and you're going to see where it leads you?
Everything I've done has always been in series. Everything. Let me grab here my short little vault. Everything. You know, because I really think the idea doesn't get a chance to mature and come out until you play with it enough. So these go back to 1999.
Wow.
But see, cardboard, masonite, pictures from like Vanity Fair and Penthouse and that, just worked up. But look at, there's series, you know, run through. What's the idea telling me? You know, what do the figures tell me? What are the, and this is an example where I use, this is Judy's facial template. This was my friend Stacy, and this was this little Japanese girl that I knew. So I'm horrible about stealing imagery. And then, you know, she'd be like, you know, that ain't me. I'd never do that. You know? Well, no, it's not you, but it's thank you for letting me use your face. So, but you see what I mean about series is you can't, you know, there's no where you just puke it out and it's perfect on the first one. You have to work it up and you have to work it up and you have to see what's strong, what's working for me.
These are really neat.
Those are sweet. You can see how there's female.
And then the
yeah,
all of it.
Those are cool. Those are fun. And then even with this, as you know, as part of the discipline from the artist's way of, was I would get up every morning. I still practice it now, and you know, for the first half hour of the day, make some piece of art.
Wow.
So, hello, baby. Okay, we'll be down, honey, when we're ready. We'll be down. Thank you, babe. We're taping. Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
But you can see the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
There's that little sprite figure. And Judy's been cool about it, but my, you know, especially my sisters, I got a lot of, you know,
a little bit of grief and guff.
You know, like you're sick. You're into 15-year-olds. Like, well, it's not so much that. If I could explain this, I would. But you know, this is part of what I'm saying about being an artist is we don't choose these images; they choose us. You know, so. So anyway, this is my past a bit, and I was telling you about, this is a book I made. Let's see. Called Morning Shadows. part of that journal keeping.